God Tree is currently processing everything that he missed out on for the past 3 years of his slumber. Divine Flower has been giving him the rundown of their affairs in the absence of a true leader. During the time when he was asleep, a lot of humans had been stepping out of line. Factions had rebelled, some powerhouses had been clamoring, and some had been trying to explore the Misty Mountain again. From their perspective, God Tree had already fallen in the battle against the Sea Kings. As for the humans who had signed a sacrificial pact, some were still obeying the treaty, but some were just watching and waiting for Misty Mountain's downfall. Overall, the prestige and fear that they had deteriorated a lot. UZU's response to that was simple. They just had to show their power to the world again. On the outskirts of Misty Mountain, some poachers had been hunting beasts down. They were targeting entry-level creatures that could sell for quite a bit of money in the market. One of the poachers didn't like hunting in this place because of its proximity to Misty Mountain. But his partner was confident that there was nothing to worry about. He thought that hunting and killing a beast from that forbidden area wouldn't be impossible. When a roar echoed out of the concealed woods, the poacher's conceit would be tested. White Tiger had arrived alongside the Tiger tribe and a few more backups. The poachers immediately abandoned their plan to fight back and dropped everything to run. It wasn't just the beasts that were the problem, it was also the huge amount of mist encroaching on the area. White Tiger and his gang weren't even paying attention to those small fries. Shi Yaolan had partnered with White Tiger as a tracker. Their destination was 300 kilometers due east. The Realm of Steel, a region filled with living metals, dubbed as a special forbidden region. God Tree was planning to conquer that place to announce his return. This was Shi Yaolan's first proper mission. No matter what happened, she would see to it that they succeeded. White Tiger had also learned a few more words in the human tongue. He promised to protect Shi Yaolan properly. Meanwhile, a Heaven's Pride conference was currently underway. Powerhouses had gathered to discuss the resurgence of activity in the Misty Mountain. One of them thought that they had outgrown the need to fear God Tree with all the progress humanity had made. They thought that Misty Mountain had fallen behind with the current era. The old man spewing that nonsense was shut down by another member of the conference. He thought that Misty Mountain might have stayed silent, but they hadn't declined. With the lack of information, overconfidence would only bring harm to humanity. The pink-haired pretty girl agreed that they needed to use their brains more and stop using muscles and ego. Dumbass Mustache was infuriated, but he couldn't think of a response. All they knew was that God Tree was gunning for the Realm of Steel and the item there. If Misty Mountain got a hold of that item, it would be disastrous for humans. Not to mention, humanity's plan to conquer that land would go to waste. Even if they tried to interfere, their chances of succeeding would be very low. A familiar voice coming out of nowhere confirmed everything they had been saying. Lin Ziyi, the space-manipulating prodigy, had entered the conference. She announced that she had come in the name of God Tree, with the order for humans to not interfere or suffer the consequences. Dumbass Mustache instantly responded with his fists. He put his whole power behind that punch without thinking of the consequences, but physical attacks were useless against Lin Ziyi's spatial power. Besides, she wasn't done talking yet. Dumbass Mustache was flabbergasted that his attack had landed. The other conference members admonished him for moving all willy-nilly. When asked to elaborate, Lin Ziyi explained that the God Tree was not moving for his own sake, and that humanity shouldn't waste their lives by going against him. Also, there would be a day when even weak humans would be needed. Even someone as strong as the God Tree would need the help of humans. That's kind of hard to imagine for them. That's all Lin Ziyi had to say. The conference can decide what they want to do. Before exiting, Suzy, someone who used to be in the same military district as Lin Ziyi, stopped her. Stussy wanted to know why a prodigy would betray humanity and joy in Misty Mountain, but she would have to ponder the answer to that by herself. Lin Ziyi finally left the room with her space manipulation, leaving everyone silent. Members of the Heaven's Pride Conference were visibly frustrated. They had failed to get rid of the mutant tree, and he had even brazenly sent someone to give a command. Ziyi's portal brought her back to home base. She notified the God Tree that the message had been delivered. He was quite pleased, now that they had a user who had mastered the power of space in their ranks. Things had gotten so much more convenient with this prodigy's addition. Her next mission would be to go to the 10 Nations Alliance where Alicia needs help. Ziyi was wholly receptive to her master's orders, not questioning them one bit. They had already missed the best opportunity to subdue the 10 Nations Alliance for the past 3 years. They couldn't miss it again this time. The nation in question is located on the other side of the world. Their priestess, Alicia, is currently pondering the state of the world. A servant notified her that everything was ready. It was time for her to enter the fray. The beautiful priestess had a determined look in her eyes. She proceeded to stand before a man sitting on a lavish throne. The monarch looked at her smugly with her blue ball baton and proceeded to show his indignation. Let's turn our attention to the realm of steel. White Tiger, Xiaolan, a giant tarantula, and the kings of 3 tiger tribes. Just looking at the landscape would send a shiver down anyone's spine. Qinggang has also arrived through a different channel. He confirmed that every piece of debris in this place is living metal. The tiger tribes steadily march forward, vigilant of their surroundings. In a dark cavern, 2 humanoid faces observed their march. These 2 were up to no good. They intend to take advantage of the chaos to snatch an item away. It turns out that they're a pair of mutated beasts with humanoid faces. One is a spider and the other one is some sort of wolf.
Disgusting!
Misty mountain forces reached the heart of the realm, and an earthquake stopped their advance. A solid golden hand emerged from the cliffs. A golem made of solid steel surfaced completely. This golem is named Black Gold, a transcendent third-order creature. White Tiger roared while Xia Lan warned their troops to be careful. Black Gold unleashed a grating metallic sound and summoned little living metal critters from the ground. Black Gold was using its roar to wake the other dormant metals up. With its solid golden hand, it could control where the critters would go. So, the strat was simple. Get rid of the Black Gold and the fight will be as good as over. For now, the lesser beasts will be in charge of dealing with the critters. Dark Tiger Wuhan has set his sights on the small fries with a roaring sphere. White Tiger and Xiao Lan will take on the big boss. Their opening attack was a spiritually charged full-body collision. It successfully pierced through Black Gold's solid body, making it buckle and squirm. Getting your chest blown out would certainly bring any being down. White Tiger's head was concussed with lumps, but it was worth it. Or it would have been if they finished off the job. But Black Gold was already back up and hitting them with the golden fist. Xia Lan assured White Tiger with her defense, so he would focus on offense. Every troop watched the defensive spell in awe, including the nameless 5th Tiger King and the 2nd Tiger King, Blood Tiger. Just as everyone was getting into the groove, another transcendent 3rd Order being emerged, the much bigger Bronze. They're battling against giants, 2 to be exact. Standing together, these lumps of living metal looked unbeatable. The humanoids weren't expecting that the 2 masters of the realm of steel would show up. Wuhan didn't falter and unleash another roaring sphere. It pierced Bronze right in its chest hole. It was a clean hit that should have been fatal, but the wound started healing itself in just a few seconds. Fellas, if there's a hole, there's a way. Wuhan wasn't discouraged by that. He just summoned his clone and primed a double roaring sphere. This time, it took out one of Bronze's limbs. Just like before, the wounds started fusing together. It's basically high-speed regeneration on steroids, but Wuhan's attacks possess the darkness element and its corrosive property. Bronze was having a hard time getting its arm back now. Meanwhile, White Tiger and Xiao Lan have been expertly flying circles all over Black Gold. When an opening presented itself, they dove in. Within the point-blank range, he opened his heavenly eye. A beam of pure spiritual power ravaged Black Gold's head. It took out half of the giant's face easily. Xiao Lan was quite pleased with White Tiger's new technique. It was extremely destructive, but it was also out of control. White Tiger moved his head slightly and almost wiped out their own troops. Xiao Lan had to drop-kick him just to stop the beam of energy. They can't afford to waste more time. They must finish these metalheads in one go. Xiao Lan opened her eyes of treasure to peer through the enemy. She detected that the core of Black Gold is in its shoulder, and that's where they should focus fire. The corrosion steadily infected Bronze to a dangerous degree. Wuhan was just a fierce tiger going up against a giant, but he had the upper hand. He had been dominant to the point of considering his job done. White Tiger wasn't slacking either, using his powerful energy beams in conjunction with the heavenly eye. The force behind that attack was so relentless that it eventually dismembered Black Gold. Just like that, the 2 masters of this realm lined up in what looked like a defeat. The humanoids think that the win hasn't been secured though. Bronze and Black Gold are down, but the metal critters are still active. They've been increasing in number instead. That must mean that the one giving the attack signal is not those 2 giants, but the one that's slumbering even deeper within this bizarre land. The tricky humanoids think that this can be the perfect opportunity for their plan. They can snatch the Bronze giant to the tunnel and shift to another continent. Locked with their absurd plan, the humanoids made their move. They haven't gotten far yet, but Qinggang already sensed their presence. He commanded the metal ground to grab a hold of the humanoids. Shingang even gagged them with metal bindings. Interrogation would have to wait, though. Another earthquake has struck the land. This time it was bigger and more intense, shifting the topography of the realm. Shingang watched as the body of the mountain ruptured. A face that was as big as bronze and black gold combined rose to the surface. Its ancient molten body quickly followed. No matter what angle you look at, no matter how you spin it, this monster was simply too big. Its ancient guttural roar shook the lands with metallic resonance. The humanoids know this monster as the primogenitor of steel. Shingang mistakenly heard it as primogenitor of Annis, though. He's a man of culture. Members of the Tiger tribe were the first to shake their fear and take action. White Tiger and Wu Hong took to the skies to go eye to eye with the primogenitor. Both of their warring spheres with pure energies were unleashed, and both failed to even make a shallow dent, bouncing off the monster's molten frame. The smoke cleared and no damage was done. That shocked and scared the black and white tigers. Xiaolan assessed that this enemy is on a completely different playing field. They tried their best and failed. Now it's time for primogenitor's revenge. Xiaolan yelled at the troops to retreat, while molten beams sought to destroy them. Wu Hong and White Tiger braced themselves and managed to avoid the brunt of the attack. But the troops on the floor weren't as fast to react. That attack left a massive ditch slicing the realm of steel in half. Now the Beast Army is having doubts about whether they could even win. Xiaolan attempted to lift their morale by ordering everyone to take turns depleting the primogenitor's power. Without spirit power, that giant is just a useless piece of metal. It was a decent plan, but they could just forget about it and retreat. Now that God Tree himself has arrived, he will finish the job by himself. Xiaolan looked behind her and laid eyes upon their glorious master. It's her first time seeing him up close, active, and personal. Before jumping into action, Yuziyu took the time to praise her for her bravery. She immediately blushed and held that compliment close to her heart. God Tree's roots twisted and turned, lifting him to the primogenitor's level. He looked the monster in its freaky eyes and asked if it was the master of this place. Primo responded with a very rude punch. No matter how much force was behind that strike, it was easily neutralized. Primo was flabbergasted that just a few pieces of roots were able to stop the land-shattering punch. Yuziyu noted how bad this giant's temper was. Trash-talking made it a lot worse. Primo's rage can be felt from the movement of the living metal critters. At first, it looked like they were clamoring to escape. But upon closer look, they were heading to one place. Countless metallic critters were fusing and attaching themselves to the primogenitor. Not only that, but even the ground everyone was standing on was turning into pure metal. Yuziyu seemed unbothered by all of that, though. He just casually watched as the monster became even bigger than before. Primo also started posing as if he was about to unleash a finisher. Blades of steel started poking out of the monster and the ground, all of them targeting God Tree. White Tiger and Xiaolan came closer to lend assistance as she activated her eyes of treasure. She spotted the core of the monster in an incredibly obvious place. Xiaolan shouted at God Tree that the enemy's core was at the level of its neck. He didn't know that the kid that Thorn saved possessed such a special ability. From the core of Primo comes another one of those molten beams. Yuziyu didn't even bother to dodge or move.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
He tanked all the molten energy like it was just a warm shower. The aftermath was catastrophic. Primo watched as the smoke subsided. White Tiger and Xiaolan felt their hearts drop. They knew that Primo's attack was no joke. But there's no need to be in a hurry to mourn their master yet. His lower body has been raised, but that's just one of his offshoot forms. What remains of his frame slowly flew towards the core slot of the main body. Primo panicked and tried to stop the assimilation, but he was thwarted by the draconic root. Yuziyu ate an attack, but it's his turn now. His main body chomped down, absorbing the core. The gigantic frame of the God Tree started shifting in place. Humanoid limbs started emerging from either side. Everyone could not take their eyes off the change that was happening. A monstrous head cleared out of the smoke. God Tree's combat form has been completed, and it was glorious. It dwarfed the primogenitor of steel by a long shot. Now it's time for a proper second round. The tables have turned, and God Tree now holds all the advantages. Primo wasn't just going to lie down and die, though. He sprouted some blazing tendrils from his back. Those tendrils then headed straight for God Tree's body. He just looked at it for a second. Nan dismissed it like it was nothing. Yuzi responded with tendrils of his own. His were crimson and supercharged by heavenly thunder. Those vines easily bounced off the blazing tendrils, pushing their way forward. They took hold of the primogenitor's body, making it roar in pain. But that's not all. Yuziu plans to follow the binding up with some thunder control to spark things up. Now that's a real roar of electrifying pain. Primo is not having a good time at all. In an attempt to even the scales just a little bit, the giant metal head tried to sneak in another molten beam. Tree stood his ground and pulled up a simple barrier, just to flex that he was untouchable. Tank one attack, dish out one of your own. Tree was so dominant that he could afford to take it easy and just summon a ball of pure thunder with a terrifying voltage level. He praised the primogenitor for reaching such a high point in its biological state, but everything that Primo has will now be Tree's to conquer. Yuziu rushed in and used the thunderball that he made as a melee weapon to increase the disrespect. It tore through Primo's seemingly invincible frame, exploding out into the other side. Cries of excruciating pain, a war cry, and everything else in between echoed throughout the land. Tree used his thunder to dig through Primo's core, the elemental heart. It's a precious treasure that can transform other elements into metal. He promised to the master of this realm that he'll make good use of the heart. Together with this core, the primogenitor of steel and just live inside Tree's body as a resource. Taking the elemental heart out of the big boss took the life out of its entire body. The seemingly invincible giant has fallen with no chance of getting back up. The tigers roared and every beast cheered in celebration. Seeing how Tree defeated the master of the realm so easily horrified the humanoids. They were actually such fools for thinking of snatching something from the hands of a true monster. If you asked everyone in this place to describe Tree, they would answer that he's incredibly powerful. Now that the mission was accomplished, it's time to go back to Misty Mountain. Every notable beast that they encounter along the way has been neatly bound and dragged all the way to their territory. They conquered the realm of steel and obtained the elemental heart. Shingon also captured a huge number of beasts. Yuziu wonders what to do with the tricky humanoids. The grotesque beings knew their place and immediately pleaded their loyalty. Tree doesn't want to accept some evil schemers so easily though. But the humanoids seem sincere in saying that they would redeem themselves. Since Yuziu is creating a suppression cave to lock up disobedient humans and beasts, these humanoids can be the first guards as long as they remember where they stand. For this chance, they were extremely grateful. They also captured a rainbow deer, a legendary creature. Tree turns the forgotten white crane, entrusting the legendary creature to the bird. A single tear came out of his eye. He really thought that we had forgotten about him. The next one is a lightning rat at the third order of transcendence.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!
It's a fast rat with thunderously destructive abilities. Its attribute panel doesn't look too bad. There's a substantial number of rats in Misty Mountain, but the lightning rat was built different. Lung Fum will be in charge of nurturing this newest addition to the team. Next is handling Tree's own matters. He obtained an additional 5 million evolution points in a single excursion. After upgrading his innate talents, it's time to turn his attention to something else. The progress bar of instantaneous time stop has climbed from 53% to 92%. Just a bit more, and this ability will be fully unlocked. Next is the elemental heart of the primogenitor. It would take a while to devour this core. The metal core is the core of living elementals. Going by logic, Tree should be considered a wood elemental. That implies the existence of other elementals such as fire, wind, and everything else in this world. Either Yuziu is that you? Yuziu wants to make it his mission to absorb them all when the time comes. For now, the elemental heart of the primogenitor of steel will be added to his arsenal first. After doing so, he orders Ninetales to fetch his tree core. Ninetales has been keeping this elemental core full of vitality the whole time. She has been in charge of safekeeping this thing, but now Tree can finally let it assimilate with the metal core. The fusing of two powerful energy sources is naturally quite intense. When all is said and done, the air is different, and so is the ground. The topography surrounding him has been altered significantly. He formally obtains the ability to assimilate, nurture, and devour metal elementals. These new abilities even turn the ground into metal after assimilation. The most fascinating one is the devouring ability. He intends to conduct some thorough research on that one. There are literally tons of metals in the realm of steel, but not all of them are useful. For now, Ninetales needs to pass down an order to look out for distinct metals for collection. She also takes the chance to inform her master that the Federation has sent Shi Yaoqing on a crusade against the White Dragon. Yuziu understands he wants Nine Tails to join forces with Demon Cow to provide some assistance. On the other side of the continent, the White Cave has become a lair for some fearsome beasts. Chief among them is the infamous White Dragon. It's currently engaging in an all-out war against transcendent humans. A familiar centipede's spiritual pet has joined the fray. It bites down on the White Dragon's body and delivers some excruciating pain. That only lasts for a few seconds, as the dragon has plenty of tools to deal with pests. Shi Yaoqing has to come to the rescue of her pet with the use of inferno butterflies. She has become strong, to the point of taking a chunk out of a dragon's flesh with her flames. White Jade Elephant has also made a surprising appearance. He is practically bruising his way through the dragon with sheer force. The elephant has always been very strong, but the enemies are a lot faster, and the black flames that hit him out of nowhere hurt like hell. The initial clash between the opposing sides is relatively equal for now, but the appearance of a black firefox might just change that. According to their research, beasts from the White Cave have always been white too.
What do you mean by that?
It's the first time that a different type of beast has reared its ugly head. The battlefield is busy and the Dark Assembly is observing quietly. By the looks of it, they might need to take action very soon. Their chairwoman Shi Yaoling hasn't given the order yet. Taking action at the wrong time carries the risk of exposing her. While they are watching the situation closely, some uninvited presences make themselves known. Dobman senses two extremely strong spiritual powers closing in. The chairwoman's trusted butler turns around and has some familiar beastly features. Nine Tails and Demon Cow have finally entered the fray. Two powerful beasts face two outstanding specimens of human-beast genetics. The parties just looked at each other for a little bit. Dogman decided to break the silence by threatening to draw his blade. The vampire butler told him to settle down, since they were on the same side as the beasts of Misty Mountain. Nine Tails asked for the rundown of the situation and Butler admitted that it's not good. The human powerhouses are severely outclassed, and the Flame Empress can't go all out. Moreover, there are signs of a few beasts observing in the dark. Their chairwoman is trying to play it slow, but it's getting a lot harder. It was rare to see Shi Yaoqing in such a perilous state. The mutated humans might be limited in what they can do, but the beasts aren't. The Flame Princess's scorching attacks were not quite as hard as she'd like. White Dragon has been going on a tear, making Shi Yaoqing contort her body just to avoid getting blasted. Dodging one attack opened her up to the jaws of another. The enemy's coordination was just too good. For a moment, the Flame Empress could practically see her cruel fate. Even the incompetent humans saw that. But the one that actually managed to save her in clutch time was Demon Cow and his battle axe. It was a painful swing, making the Firefox grimace in pain. Shi Yaoqing rejoiced now that some adequate allies had finally arrived. It's a gigantic improvement compared to his current human troops. Demon Cow immediately followed his assault with Gravity Field. Focused on the tip of his battle axe, the gravity made his attacks extra sharp and heavy. Nine Tails came up to the so-called human powerhouses and told them to get out since this place was out of their pay grade. Misty Mountain didn't come here to babysit humans. They came here to collect the corpse of a dragon. White Dragon roared in rage after hearing that bold statement. It summoned a burly white ape full of exploding strength. There's also the white snow fox coming out of its burrow. Just as Shi Yaoqing thought, there are indeed enemies hiding in the dark. It's the forces of the White Cave versus the human beast impromptu army. Neither of the two opposing parties was losing in the battle of morale and fierceness. Far from this chaos, Misty Mountain has been having a very pleasant sunny day. Praying Mantis has been summoned by the God Tree for a serious matter. As far as Yuziu knows, this guy has been a great partner to Sparky. Praying Mantis was proud to admit that. They've been fighting together for a long time and will succeed the Mantis army in the future. He's been provided with life essences and high-grade resources, but 3 years have passed and he's still stuck on the Second Order. At the rate of his development, he might not have the qualification to fight alongside Sparky anymore. God Tree has a solution for that. It entails the ingestion of a void worm that has been feeding on its tree root that eventually mutated. Praying Mantis can choose to consume it with the prospect of becoming a lot stronger, or becoming the worm's puppet until death. Mantis did not even hesitate to answer that he was willing to take the risk. Rather than dying as a weakling, he'd rather go down as a powerhouse. Yuziu was pleased with that gumption and tossed the void worm in his underling's direction. As soon as it entered his system, a pain that he'd never felt before racked his entire body. God Tree watched in silence, ready for whatever outcome this yields.
If he dies, he dies.
The void worm assimilation awakened the Mantis' innate talent and emitted a blinding light to the heavens. Divine Flower watched what was happening in the distance with worry. The little guy was practically going Super Saiyan, but he was green. Divine Flower became extremely worried at the sight of her friend. Mantis looked as though he had lost control of his actions and lunged in to attack the big boss. God Tree just chose to block while assessing whether the little guy failed or not. Based on the crazed screams and reckless attacks, evidence points to insanity. Yuziyu had enough of those silly attacks that didn't even scratch his body and grabbed Mantis. It was regretful, and the only thing he could bestow the little guy with was a painless death. Divine Flower could not just stand idly while a friend was about to get executed. She was right to interrupt as Mantis was still fighting the Void Worm's influence while screaming God Tree's name. Thankfully, Yuziyu listened. His grip was loosened by the explosion of newfound energy. It was so impactful that even Bald Head was hit with stray debris to the face. The Mantis that's been stuck has finally taken the leap to the third order of transcendence. Seeing a void-like form, Yuziyu was certain that the experiment was a success. That blade looks a lot like a video game skin for a knife, but its colorful look is an indication of just how lethal it could really be. Slashing the air left a dimensional rift in the space. That's a feat that only a few powerhouses are capable of. It's the fabled Void Blade. God Tree has now agreed that Mantis is now qualified to fight alongside Sparky. He will also be bestowed with a different name. From now on, he will be called Z Leon on account of his purple sickles. This success opens up the possibility of nurturing even more beasts that possess the power of Void in the future. Looking inside, God Tree analyzed his absolute evolution ability. Based on cognition, he can change his biological form, an ability he got from devouring the King of the Seven Seas. The first form he tried out was that of a fox. This form can separate from the main body freely. I've also possessed his elemental wind mastery to utilize for attacks. The destruction stored inside the little body was quite impressive. This was a totally different experience compared to his human form. His biology and even abilities have changed. That's the essence of absolute evolution. It's very similar to the 72 transformations of Sun Wukong, but the spirit power usage after transforming was steep. He also needs complete understanding of a creature to mimic it. Other than that, it's perfect. Just in time after his experimentation, Ninetales and Demon Cow are back. It looks like they have some unconscious company in tow. Based on the White Dragon's state, it's fair to say that they've returned triumphantly. God Tree thanked his reliable generals for their hard work. He started coiling around the dragon's body using his arboreal roots. Seeing the hole in its chest, where the heart was supposed to be, shocked him. Ninetales explained that the heart had been taken by Shi Yaoqing to trade for a certain item in the Federation. Yuziyu hasn't seen that girl in 3 years. He just hopes that everything is going well for her. Little Panda and Snake Girl saw the others arriving with a dragon and didn't miss their chance to snap some photos. God Tree already had something that he wanted to do with this white dragon. He's going to mimic it, and that would require some hands-on dissection. After that, the expedition towards the northern depths can start. The vast and extensive expanse of the savannah will be theirs for the taking too. Even the western wasteland filled with endless sand will fall into their hands. God Tree will see to it that they can subdue a myriad of races. Only then could they face the third spirit tide with confidence. The scale of the territories owned by Misty Mountain has already surpassed that of a small country. Yuziyu is about to start the conquest of gathering more companions before the third spirit tide. Every beast has been assigned to their respective missions. In the Forest of Death, the savage beasts have been rampaging freely for far too long. The new and improved Z Leon has been given the chance to prove his newfound strength. He might be small in size, but a beast that can channel the void is not something to scoff at. One hit, one kill, it was a fast and clean execution. When one savage beast fell, Z Leon didn't even break a sweat, so he was going to hunt another one.
Another one.
Lung Feng and his rat army followed closely behind. They're in charge of hauling the injured beast back to home base. Even a stoic emo, Lung Feng couldn't help but admit that Z Leon has improved by leaps and bounds with his void powers. Thunder Dragon's assigned targets are the insect beasts of the woods. In the 5th year of this new era, Misty Mountain started an aggressive push to expand its territory outwards, continually subduing and conquering beasts. From furry beasts to reptilian monsters, no one was safe from the push. The subunits of beast species grew with every expedition. Their ape beast force has grown incalculably. The humans of the Federation were left baffled by the display of strength that Misty Mountain has been exhibiting. 10 Nations Alliance was also tracking the Forbidden Region conquest. Humanity was afraid that Misty Mountain might break the pact and turn their crosshairs on them. The Lua Kingdom wanted to seek answers through the Iron First Tyrant, one of the first foreign powers that collaborated with God Tree. After 3 years of slumber, Misty Mountain has woken up like a bear after hibernation. In their conference room, the higher-ups started grilling Iron Fist about the recent rampage happening. But he's just as clueless as the other people who signed this sacrificial pact. Since having a taste of new power from Misty Mountain, Lua Kingdom has started fracturing from the top. Just as their argument was about to reach its peak, a peregrine falcon broke in through the window out of nowhere. It hurriedly recited that under God Tree's order, news regarding powerful beasts or heaven's pride of various races must be relayed to Misty Mountain in exchange for rewards. Those who fail to comply must know their place or prepare to be killed without mercy. After delivering what he had to deliver, the bird dipped out of that place with unprecedented speed. Iron Fist Tyrant and the other stooges just stood there, not knowing how to process what they just heard. The northern depths have long been plagued by the transcendent second-order frost giants. Glacier has been deployed on account of his battle experience in extreme conditions. Just his raw strength was enough to crack the rigid frost giants. The beasts of the north did not stand a chance at all. Ice Dragon has also been partnered up with Glacier to be in charge of bringing injured beasts back to camp. All of the beasts that they beat up are remitted straight to Misty Mountain. The harvest this time is not bad at all. In just a short few days, they captured a huge amount of beasts from all parts of the world. But there are just 3 creatures that have caught God Tree's eyes. First was the stalwart frost giant. Next was the interesting golden rock. Last is a creature that resembles a goblin and beastman hybrid. Every beast has been disabled and unconscious except for this guy. Upon opening its eyes, the goblin immediately unleashed a burst of spiritual energy from its mouth. God Tree easily thwarted the beam away with his thick root, though. He followed it up by tightening the grip around the goblin's body. Those who are not willing to follow Yuziu can die. He doesn't want to encounter betrayals while fighting against darkness. That goblin alone gave him 500,000 evolution points, raising his total to 2 million. He turned to the captured beasts and gave them the final choice. They can either surrender and pay allegiance to him, or die where they are standing right now. On the other side of the continent, 2 wolf beasts have been patiently waiting for something to arrive. Transcendent Third Order Moon Wolf reckons that the Misty Mountain beasts can no longer stay still. Blood Wolf agreed, expecting the conquerors to advance in their territory soon. Moon Wolf doesn't feel threatened. He is even looking forward to their arrival. 2 leaders and a ton of wolf beasts await. They are confident that the Misty Mountain beasts won't be coming back home. Northern borders have been re-established, with frost giants guarding the territory. Leon couldn't help but wonder if the North would be able to endure what was to come. In the mysterious ghost region, a shady figure sits on a throne in darkness. The shady figure lamented the growth of the God Tree. Back in the grasslands, Ninetails, Demon Cow, and Little Panda have set foot on their next subjugation task. Moon Wolf has been patiently waiting for their arrival. Ninetails was taken aback by the readiness of the wolf tribe to meet them in their turf. Moon Wolf couldn't hide his exhilarated smile. He just wanted to get right into the fight. With the enemies prepared, it seems like Misty Mountain wouldn't just steamroll again today. Wolves stretched out as far as the eye could see. A fierce battle is unavoidable. Ninetails reminded her comrades to not belittle their enemies. In strength and numbers, the wolf tribe is not inferior to a deep-sea king army. Moon Wolf was quite disappointed that there were only 3 Misty Mountain beasts deployed. He thought they were being too arrogant.
You sure about that?
His first move was to command his dogs to probe their real situation. Panda and Demon Cow responded with equal intensity. The big guy's opener was his go-to-gravity axe to cleave a large chunk of unfortunate wolves. Almost all of them were trampled by a staggering downward force. This could be a great time to test out Panda's new ability. He extended his arms and summoned a sharp frost sword. Each slash was cut cleanly and froze instantaneously. Moon Wolf and Blood Wolf provided cover fire with Black Wind and Blinding Blood Ray. Both of their attacks were targeted towards the biggest threat of the bunch, Ninetails. Those techniques were no joke. She got to activate Fiery Form right away just to be safe. She neutralized the incoming attacks and burned the dog mobs at the same instance. Moon Wolf was already expecting this level of struggle. Misty Mountain beasts are notorious for their power. But there was something else that the wolves failed to take into account. An army of mutated rats was also assigned to this mission. They just took a different path. A rat tide might not be the most menacing thing, but a rat tide with killing machines is downright terrifying. It only took a few moments for the color of the field to get replaced by the color of black fur. The rat tide locked in on the moon wolf, while the beasts stifled their attempts with pure spiritual power. Blood Moon dove into the thick concentration of rats and performed a Blood Ray Wild Slash. Dealing with it, rats distracted the leading wolves, opening them up for exploits. That exploit took the shape of Pikachu, Lightning Rat. After some training, it even developed a tail that could get us in trouble with Nintendo. Anyone with eyes could see that this particular rat is different from the rest of the tide. That little guy should be the least of their worries. Ninetales is going in with her majestically devastating moves. Inferno Blast swallowed the wolves in a blaze of hellfire. But these dogs are tougher than they look. They were skilled enough to get unharmed. The battle of the underdogs had devolved into an all-out war between wolves and mutant rats. Have you ever seen rats that are the same size as big dogs? Now you have. They were being led by the Rat Emperor in the mid-stage of the Transcendent Third Order. Although the Emperor was slaughtering wolves left and right, the other rats were not faring well at all. Fortunately, they had the Lightning Rat to do some serious damage in clutch time. Ash Ketchum would be proud. Seeing the wolves get pushed back, another hidden powerhouse has made himself known. An ancient gigantic wolf in the Third Order of Transcendence. His powerful roar fried so many rats that it could feed an entire rat-eating village. But they would have to settle with burnt and trampled rodents for lunch. The Rat Emperor finally has a worthy opponent. To balance out the power struggle, Qinggong also appeared to provide some much-needed assistance. His Earth Golem towered over the ancient gigantic wolf, menacingly. The Elemental General wanted to test this secret boss just to see the discrepancy in power. He was operating the Earth Golem from the inside like a mech pilot, while wrestling an overgrown dog. Ninetales has locked onto the Moon Wolf King for a 1 versus 1. Moon Wolf has some trash-talking gene in his body, calling Ninetales a smelly fox. Their physical battle resembled a painting of brutality and grace. On Demon Cow's side facing the Crimson Blood Wolf, things were a lot messier. Demon Cow has been swinging his battle axe all over the place, just to land a clean hit. Their respective auras clashed and wrecked everything in the perimeter. Back in Misty Mountain, Godtree was wondering what was up with Ninetales and the others in the savannah. They prepared to go up against the wolf tribe of that biome. He just hoped that his comrades were not being careless. In Australia, the beasts in that continent have surely grown by a lot. During the past 3 years, Sparky has made a name for himself as a fearsome foe, recruiting promising beasts left and right. Now that his business has been settled in this forsaken continent, it's time to go back home. He set back Australia's beast army by a lot in the time that he spent here. The war in the savannah is reaching its climax. Demon Cow even pulled his beast form out. He ditched the battle axe to use his horns, as a much more savage weapon. Blood Wolf had to retreat for a minute, or he would have been maimed to death. The wound that the horns left was deep and bleeding fast. Demon Cow commented that Blood Wolf doesn't have the strength of a leader, so it's time to change the chief. Blood Wolves still seemed confident though. There's another card that the Wolf tribe has yet to play. Misty Mountain has become too overconfident, when they aren't the only ones who possess his second form. Under the light of the full moon, Blood Wolf entered his second phase through Silver Moon's protection. Ninetales noticed the fluctuation in energy on the other side of the battlefield. She tried to warn Demon Cow, but the dark sphere of energy coming from the Blood Wolf had already been primed. The attack swallowed Demon Cow's entire body. This time, his innately high defenses weren't enough to tank the technique completely. The momentary stun gave way to a brutal bite on Demon Cow's neck. He looked to the side, and the two fighters had a mutual understanding that this fight would go the distance. With a relentless combination of physical and spiritual attacks, Demon Cow's advantage from earlier had evaporated. Blood Wolf gave it his all, but Demon Cow's body has been tempered by wars, increasing its durability. On the other hand, Moon Wolf was starting to get riled up with Ninetales' limitless power. It's been a long time since he had such a good fight. That mindset might just be his downfall. Ninetales did not come here to play. She's here for a life or death battle. Moon Wolf might be having a bit of fun, but he wanted to make things clear. He didn't come here to play either. Sparky, being the coolest beast that he is, chooses to fly above water as his mode of transport back home. Following closely behind his tiny frame are 3 gargantuan beasts that share a very interesting trait. Back in the savannah, Ninetales has become fully engrossed in nothing but combat. Moon Wolf wants to show that she's not the only one hiding her strength here. Both beasts summon gigantic apparitions of themselves, elevating the fight to another level. Meanwhile, Demon Cow is being beaten so badly that the artist has to bust out the forbidden image sensors. The relentless Blood Wolf can't be dealt with through sheer force. It looks like he has to retrieve the battle axe to stand a chance. Because of the moon above, the wolves have increased their power and speed drastically. Blood Wolf laughs maniacally, using the power of the moon. He can give up on defense and focus on offense solely. Just looking at his body, it is obvious that there is a massive jump in stats. In his next attack, he intends to send Demon Cow to hell. Blood Wolf makes his biggest mistake yet. Speed and power are the most meaningful augmentations he could have against Demon Cow. Before even reaching his strike zone, the large-scale gravity field covers the surrounding area. Blood Wolf is supposed to dominate the fight, but the gravity field makes it impossible to even walk properly. His body has become so heavy to the point of becoming immobile. This is the type of fight where Demon Cow's ability can be displayed in full power. He loves taking the things that the opponent is proud of and smashing them to pieces. Before the battle axe goes down on the dog's head, he tries to plead that he is willing to lead the wolf tribe and join Misty Mountain. But it is too late. He reveals his true colors, earning him a decapitated head. Demon Cow is confident that even without this bastard, they can still control the wolf tribe. Blood Wolf is no more, and that certainly distracts Moon Wolf. He wants to kill the enemies in honor of his comrade. Ninetales is an extremely difficult obstacle to accomplish that, though. To make matters worse for the Grey Dog, Ninetales has started to form her fifth tail. He arrogantly declares that even if she has all of her 9 tails, he'd still come out on top. His avenue for that possible win is the brutal Blood Ray. The Blood Ray looks miniature as it heads for the gigantic Ninetales apparition. She responds with a scorching beam attack of her own. It has turned into a classic power struggle using Dragon Ball attacks. And as usual, the one with the smaller and thinner attack will be buried by the bigger and thicker one. Unleashing that attack, she feels a strange fluctuation in her spirit power, a sign that she's about to evolve. This was supposed to be a cause for celebration, but Moon Wolf is quite tenacious. There's no one harder to face than a beast with nothing to lose, equipped with powerful jaws. The perfect counter to that is a tiny furry backup with immeasurable strength. Little Panda has come to the rescue. Ninetales informs him of her dilemma. She needs to be brought away from here to avoid a tragedy. While everyone is busy with their respective fights, a horrifying screech and a threatening spiritual presence make themselves known. Everyone looks up to see a familiar aerial beast roaming the skies. It's the Inferno Abyssal Falcon from the Divine Flower Wa 3 years ago. It looks like Big Bird has been harboring a grudge against Misty Mountain all this time. The beast raises the ground like a fighter jet, vaporizing everything below. Little Panda wants to jump to the skies and fight, but he has to take a photo for Xiao AI first. A sharp blade aura sweeps through the skies, heading for the nuisance bird. Sparky's first stop back home is the savannah. You couldn't ask for a better reinforcement than this guy. He methodically slices and dices the falcon. He is butchering it alive. Australia made Sparky a beast on a whole new level. Even against a beast like Inferno Abyssal Falcon, Sparky's one-hit, one-kill streak looked like it would continue. He moved so fast that Ninetales only noticed that one of their comrades had arrived. But the bird was way too spunky to fall that easily. Misty Mountain stopped him from obtaining the Divine Flower, and now they're stopping him from scavenging the corpses of the Wolf Kings. His hatred for Misty Mountain knows no bounds, manifesting in his attack. Even Shingang and his outstanding defense might not be enough to protect everyone. Sparky stayed calm though. He casually activated Quintuple Strengthening and launched a blinding offense. Big Bird's beak was broken into pieces. His injuries were way too grave. It looked as though Sparky did not even break a sweat on that one. He just turned to his comrades and announced that he was finally back. Misty Mountain is finally at full power. Of course, Little Panda had to snap a pic. The cleanup of the wolf tribe was quite simple. Without their leaders, they were herded into the underground prison. They'll only be let out once they've been completely tamed. The more pressing issue is Ninetales' evolution. Sparky sensed an indescribable force inside her body. There are 2 different types of power clashing inside her body. Their only move is to carefully bring her back to home base first. As for the wolves, the rats are capable enough for an underground transport job. Just as they were about to make preparations to go back home, multiple strong spirit powers started closing in. From a distance, a black panda surrounded by human knights has entered the fray. Those Iron Knights are the elite force of the Federation. They are bad news, especially the black panda leading them with murderous spirit. Sparky made the call for everyone to take Ninetales away, while he guarded the rear. Little Panda interrupted and insisted that there was no need to do that. They could just leave everything to him. It looks like he and the Black Panda had some sort of agreement to go 1v1. Black Panda asked the little guy why he wasn't running away when he had no intentions of letting anyone off. When asked if he thinks he stood a chance, Little Panda felt the pressure, but he put up a tough front. He had truly grown up. He knew how to talk back now. This king of the Iron Eater tribe is one of the pillars of the Federation. 2 years ago, he soloed a huge beast tide. He's so powerful that he almost flattened the Forbidden Region. The whole world recognized his strength for that. The king advised the Iron Knights to retreat a lot further, and they quickly did. This will be an internal battle between families. But before they exchanged blows, the king wanted to know what Little Panda's relationship was with that girl from Jia City. With an ominous presence and tone, he wanted to know if Little Panda got himself a girlfriend. The little guy's response was a rosy smile. That was the wrong answer. The king snapped and fully intended to kill Little Panda. This internal family affair has taken a deadly turn. The king continued to interrogate him about his relationship with that girl. He was demanding answers, while emitting a fearsome aura. Little Panda decided to play coy and didn't give him a concrete answer. That prompted the king to launch a bachelor's angry punch. Getting hit by that stupid move should be akin to tanking a bomb. Little Panda didn't expect that someone from his family would go this hard. The Iron Knights have seen this scene before. The king becomes stronger and angrier against enemies who have a girlfriend. It's the anger of a bachelor.
Stop it. Get some help.
Today, either Black Panda leaves or Little Panda dies. Still clueless about the sudden shift in intensity, Little Panda just locked in and activated his frozen fist and blazing fists simultaneously. An R-hat bachelor kick was coming from the heavens. It was tough to defend against that, especially when used in conjunction with the love-learned seizing claw that grabbed onto Little Panda's face. The king threw the little guy to the ground, bouncing painfully. Thankfully, Little Panda activated his blazing aura to brace for impact. He followed that up with a burning headbutt. At least this was not a one-sided fight. Still, the king has a lot of tricks up his furry sleeves. He could even muster an apparition, just like Nine Tails. Since Little Panda is proving to be quite a problem, the king will get a bit more serious. That prompted Little Panda to also activate his Crimson Lotus Solar Flare Sphere. The king saw this technique back in the war against Australith and Jia City. Right now, the outcome is still up in the air. Who will come out on top? The Little Panda with the big blaze or the king with his virgin energy? Their collision was like a nuclear bomb test in the middle of the savannah. The king bragged that he was the most popular panda back in their zoo. Yet this little guy found a girlfriend faster than him. He was so frustrated that he chowed down on Little Panda's ass cheeks. The little guy fought back by biting the king on his tummy. Their childish fight culminated in a shouting match. The little one insisted that he was the most lovable panda in the zoo, and the kids really liked him. The king believes that everyone came for him though, especially the female university students. All the people who took care of Little Panda were beauties, and the king's attendants were all aunties. In the best meals and room though. Their argument developed into a wager of whoever wins will be the most popular one. Little Panda was all in on that ridiculous bet. Two pandas and their ridiculous beliefs are going to go all out for the sake of bragging rights. The fight was long and hard fought. Qinggang went back to check on the aftermath, and the entire savannah's topography had been messed up. He finally found Little Panda beaten black and blue, but the little guy was still breathing. His injuries are too serious. Even with the essence of life, recovery would be too slow. Qinggang had to bring him back to safety for now. Qinggang praised the little guy for driving the Iron Knights and their king away, but that wasn't the case this time. Even the knights themselves were confused as to why they let the Little Panda live, where they could have brought the injured midget back with them. The answer was simple, a vial of the precious essence of life. The king also wished for that little brother of his to live a good life. They're still family after all. He was so focused on fighting earlier that they forgot the corpses of the Wolf Kings. Misty Mountain already took them away. Back in the Misty Mountain, God Tree was holding an odd artifact in his vines. It was a light attribute ore. He didn't expect to find this one in the realm of steel, but the amount isn't much. It was then that Sparky finally made his appearance in front of his master. Looking at this warrior, his experience these past 3 years has been etched through battle scars. Yuzu called down a rain of life to make Sparky as good as new. After thanking the big boss, Demon Cow followed to make his entrance with the unconscious Nine Tails. Godtree also noticed that there was another power rampaging inside her body. His theory was that the traditional bloodline in her veins was starting to awaken. She needs to be situated in the spirit pool for now. Demon Cow quickly complied and delivered his eldest sister to the pool. Sparky has brought some good news from the land down under. He managed to recruit 3 promising companions. Yuzu already sensed a few unfamiliar auras earlier. Now he wanted to meet them. Sparky called on his assistants back in his Australian conquest. 3 monstrosities appeared before God Tree to pay their respects. Yuzu immediately clocked these 3 scaly creatures as flood dragons. Although they're flood dragons now, it's only a matter of time before they evolve into true dragons. The increase in their overall strength when that happens would be immense. Sparky has done an outstanding job. Bro is the undisputed MVP out of everyone. Smoke City has mellowed down these past 3 years. The citizens have accepted Thorn as their leader, and she just finished a minor breakthrough in strength. It's about time for her to go and see her beloved master. Shigao Lan and her brother also became citizens of Smoke City. Her little bro has grown quite close with White Tiger. Their favorite activity was gaming. Though White Tiger is quite a sore loser and he plays dirty. It doesn't matter. If he's up against a powerless little boy, a win is a win even if he gets insulted for being a stinky tiger. God Tree's current spiritual power has reached 40 million. It essentially quadrupled since his fight with Australith. They conquered the savannah and the Reel of Steel too. They won't have to worry about spirit flowers, herbs, and ores in the future. His strength and army should be enough to wage war against all the countries in the world. That's not even taking the humans under the pact that infiltrated various places. God Tree asked himself if he had enough to go against the power of darkness yet, but the system's warning that he'll lose everything still echoes in his mind. He can't afford to be careless. He needs to get even stronger, not just him, but the Misty Mountain as a whole. It's about time to use absolute evolution to activate his very own heavenly eye. With all the information he had gathered regarding the 3-eyed divine race, it shouldn't be too difficult. The Unseal Eye ability confirms that every creature possesses a heavenly eye. He just has to tap into that source. God Tree started using absolute evolution as a catalyst for that process. This transformation immediately caught everyone's attention. It was an act that defied the natural order of things, summoning a heavenly tribulation from the skies. God Tree let out a guttural roar of pain as the tribulation started opening his vision. A ray of life pierced through his forehead, opening a space for a new organ. After a few more minutes of crushing pain, God Tree took on a new 4-legged form. The transformation was nothing like he had ever felt before. From green lightning tribulations, the heavenly intervention turned purple. They helped open up his heavenly eye at the cost of relentless agony. When the tribulation finally started to subside, a new organ slowly revealed itself. Unlike the ones that the 3-eyed heavenly race possessed, his heavenly eye had a deep crimson hue. The harrowing process was finally completed. God Tree's new heavenly eye looked equally majestic and menacing. I didn't know that God Tree was part of the Uchiha clan. His underlings celebrated with a hint of fear, the sight of their master's new appearance. Besides the thunderous tribulation, he had to consume more than half of his total spirit power to keep his physical form together. But it was still a massive success at the end of the day. You could now see the physical manifestation of spirit powers as glittering particles in the air. Now that he could see beyond the physical realm, Yuzi finally realized the beauty of this world. The next step is changing back to his main form to do some proper research. Now that he was seeing his heavenly eye from an outside perspective, he saw the bloody color in the 7 Magatamas. According to the system, his heavenly eye's ability is the 9 realms of heaven. He can create separate dimensions for each element he controls. This was the first time that he had seen something as ridiculous as this. He reckons that those Magatamas containing different elemental powers are the key to this ability. Brown is for the earth element, blue is for ice, red for fire, green for life. White is light, purple is void, and yellow is thunder. The question is how to open the dimensions. He tried the straightforward way of expanding one of the Magatamas, and it worked. A separate dimension opened right in front of his heavenly eye. But it was so small, coming in at approximately 10 square meters only. It can be considered a small pocket, but each elemental dimension can grow until it becomes a world of its own. At that point, he really could be considered a true God Tree. While he was busy tinkering with his heavenly eye, Ninetails also finished her crucial breakthrough. Both the Master and the strongest general have taken a quantitative leap in their powers. She's just a tiny step away from reaching the 4th order of transcendence. Except for Panda, Ninetails has the fastest growth rate. When a spirit tide arrives, she'll undoubtedly take the next step. Since she's here already, God Tree wanted to test something out. Ninetails just has to shoot her flames in his direction. She was hesitant at first, but eventually followed orders and shot out an inferno blast. God Tree opened the small entrance to the dimension of fire and the attack was absorbed. Ninetails was shocked. Her new and improved flames were devoured. Absorbing the pure spiritual flames expanded his fire dimension to 3 square meters. That's the key to cultivating his 7 worlds. Ninetails' pride was bruised and she unleashed a much stronger attack. But the big boss wasn't ready yet. The powerful attack ended up landing squarely on Yuzu's core. Ninetails realized what she had just done and panicked. Fortunately, the attack wasn't fatal, but it sure did hurt like hell. The system warned Yuzu that his dimension of fire is about to rupture. That means that absorbing too much and too fast would destroy his dimensions. It'd be better to stick with spirit stones for now. Let's take a break from experimentation and brawls to look at the Valley of Flowers, the place where Misty Mountain cultivates the spirit flowers and herbs that everyone needs. Divine Flower and her sister Butterfly are in charge of this area. They share the same love for the pretty treasures. These two have grown a lot closer throughout the years that they spent in this precious place. You could say that they were best friends and this chore was their favorite. That was until their boss interrupted girl time with his otherworldly head rearing in. God Tree proceeded to voraciously devour every flower and herb in the valley without warning. Divine Flower and her sister Butterfly were left sobbing in the middle of a bare valley, stripped of its colorful beauty. Thanks to his heavenly eye, God Tree has been on an elemental binge. He can shift the eye's position to any part of his body, so it is extremely convenient. Devouring the entire Valley of Flowers expanded his dimension of life to 1,000 square meters, big enough to fit a small villa inside. An unexpected visitor came all the way down to the Misty Mountain. Arctic Bear was supposed to be up in the northern borders. He came to report that Whale came to find him up north to give an update about what was happening under the seas. This was a crucial piece of intel, so every high-ranking beast has been called back for a briefing. Other than Thorn and White Tiger, who's running Smoke City, the 9 great beasts, Qinggang and Long Feng, were present. It turned out that the 7 deep sea kings had combined their strength to take over the depths. It's hard to imagine how they could wage a war against those fishes. They don't even know if they're necessarily stronger than the sea tribe right now. They simply don't have enough information. Humans have given up exploring the seas 3 years ago, but it's entirely possible that the sea tribe didn't stop investigating the lands. Sparky heard some murmurs in Australia that other than the Sea Kings, there are a huge number of sea tribes in the depths. Qinggang stated that the invasion 3 years ago didn't do too much damage, so they have no reason to start an unnecessary war. God Tree agreed to disagree. Those deep-sea dwellers are enemies through and through. They came for him 3 years ago. They knew about his deepest secret. The 7 deep sea kings are strong, but so are the other tribes. If they can consolidate the scattered tribe, it would be a significant boost to Misty Mountain's strength. Panda Boy will take charge of this mission, as he's the only one who can travel above the seas. The spirit tide will erupt in about 15 days. They have to become as strong as possible before that happens. Little Panda used the frozen sea of the northern depths as his jump-off point. He's been making an ice bridge non-stop, and it was extremely exhausting. After who knows how long, the evolved 5-headed snake and Mr. Whale finally made an appearance. Poor little Panda had to walk a few hundred miles just to reach this point. Whale and the snake were also busy scouting for information. The sea is filled with the eyes of the 7 kings, so they had to take heavy precaution. Before all that, the 5-headed snake sure did evolve fast. He used to have only 3 heads. Little Panda finally handed down God Tree's order to rope in the other sea tribes to stand against the 7 kings. War is inevitable. When it happens, the Whale's Orca tribe will have to be the vanguard and their death rate will be the highest. Mr. Whale already knew that and would be glad to lead his Orca tribe to battle. Using God Tree's name to start a war with the 7 kings would rope in a lot of scattered sea tribes. Misty Mountain's underwater agents are on the case. Before they got too far, Little Panda wanted to say something so badly, but realizing that this is war, he chose to shut his mouth for once. He wanted to remind them to stay safe, but safety is a luxury in war. The Sea Beast King tends to evolve backward, equipped with nothing but a killer instinct. Although the one in God Tree's possession had already lost all signs of life, the king's imprint remained. He could use that to control the scattered sea tribes. So he wrapped his arboreal roots around the Sea King imprint as tightly as possible. He then dug through the ground below, extending his roots until they eventually reached the sea. God Tree excavated his way through the deepest depths so that he could test his hypothesis. Using the Sea Beast King's imprint, he wanted to try summoning the Sea Beast tribes. To do that, he injected a new breath of life straight into the dormant king's veins. With Yuziyu's mastery of the element of life, he was able to revive the Sea Beast King as a puppet. He had complete control over its actions, so he unleashed a roar that traveled the seven seas. Using water as a medium, the roar reached all over the underwater world. Now it has become a waiting game. He was starting to lose hope when not a single one came instantly. He was starting to think that he picked the wrong place, but his doubts were unnecessary. Every beast susceptible to the king's call arrived in droves. Sea beasts of all shapes and sizes, all of them powerful, heeded God Tree's call. Seeing so many powerful sea beasts was overwhelming. If they had joined the battle 3 years ago, humanity would have been exterminated. Since this Sea Beast King hid his trump card, the other 6 must have done the same. God Tree addressed the sea tribes with a simple question of whether they were willing to be his followers. They could become part of the new era, under the leadership of a new king. Without verbal confirmation, it was hard to say whether these monsters agreed or not. But on a remote corner of the depths, one of the remaining sea kings picked up the bizarre roar. She also felt the dormant sea beast tribes wake up so suddenly. The only feasible explanations were that the Sea Beast King had come back or a new king had appeared. Either way, she needs to check things out. Using an aquatic flood dragon as a mount, the Mermaid King made her way towards the source of the anomaly. God Tree also felt her presence closing in on his position. Even he had to admit that the energy was pretty strong. The third order transcendent deep sea mermaid king, Elsa, has arrived with her posse. God Tree knew of this mermaid king, but she was unfamiliar with Yuziyu's arboreal root form. This fish-human hybrid came at the right time to inspect the strength of his new sea beast army. With the help of the king's imprint, Yuziyu successfully united the dormant sea beasts to act according to his orders. Elsa wasn't expecting that she'd have to fight for her life. The few beasts that she brought deterred the fishy army, while Elsa looked for God Tree's root, which vanished out of thin air. The disappearing act was effective, giving Yuziyu the chance for a sneak attack. Elsa instinctively put up a shield, protecting her from getting one-shotted. The shield might have deterred the immediate impact, but Yuziyu was capable of just biting through such a thing. Once her barrier was down, Elsa spat out her bubble attack. It didn't have destructive force, but it was enough for a distraction. Unfortunately for her, petty tricks like this were useless against the God Tree. He quickly closed the gap and primed an underwater ice age attack. Elsa practically ate that freezing beam up at point-blank range. One order of frozen mermaid coming right up.